And it's not shtick. Our product is not shtick,
All
Robert.
right. Allow me. Hey. I'm bringing my little Bob Galen branding twist to everything,
It's
Josh.
a very little.
Entry music. Da, 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 da. It's the Bob and Josh show.
Have you ever had a question that you know we have the answer to, and you would love to get that answer in less than 50,000 words from Bob Galen? I have your answer. Use Walter, our personal agile assistant. You can use him to ask questions based off of every word we've ever said. We know 98% of those are Bob's, 2% are mine. But this way, you can ask the specific question you get, and you don't have to wait for Bob to tell 75 stories and then not really address the question. And then I have to come in at the end to actually clarify and provide you with the answer that you need. Now you can cut through all that bull crap and you can just get the answer you need. Type in your question. Walter's like, I got you, bro, and gives you the answer. Short, concise, actionable. Unlike some of the episodes we may have delivered on. I said we. So that's our spiel, or as Robert Hugh Galen called it, shtick. I don't agree
All
with calling our product shtick, but whatever.
Oh, this comes from the man who's handing out tracheas or whatever, right? And
My dog
so
is enjoying the beef trachea very much.
exactly.
Yes.
Um, Josh, you
What?
said something that struck a chord.
Oh, did I?
I am. You ever hear the Allman Brothers have a song called "Rambling Man"? Right? I am the quintessential rambling man.
That is
Y-
correct.
Yeah, I will admit it. And I do tell a lot of stories. Sometimes I'll tell a story. You may not notice this, but I'll start a story but then I'll not end it. I'll start another story and
Never
not end it.
noticed.
You ever
Never
know?
noticed.
That
Yeah, never ever.
okay,
Yeah.
it occasionally happens.
Yes. So, listeners, if you hear any crunching or crackling in the background, that is my wonderful dog chewing on a treat. That way, she's not barking. But
The
we do
river,
what we can. The river. That's right. So, on to
the episode.
the episode part 4 of our series on entrepreneurship. One of my least favorite words to say. And this chapter is going to be centered on, okay, you did a thing, you launched it, you've got some customers. Now what? Now what do you do? What are some of the pitfalls that we've run into that we expect you to run into as well? And hopefully we can help you sidestep those and be more successful than we were right out of the gate. So that is what part 4 is all about.
So where do we want to start, Josh?
I'm just glad I've said part 4 50 times and you haven't jumped in with your
I haven't
pronunciation.
I haven't jumped in with a hairball.
Yeah, I've just been
I
waiting
can.
for that to
All
happen.
right, Metacasters, we'll get this out of the way.
Thank you.
This is so you were with us for part I'm sure we intrigued you to then follow up with part duh. And then based on that, you had to listen to part trois. And now, drum roll please. We are now at part. Oh man, that hurts. I got to do it one more time. One more time.
No,
Port,
you don't.
port, couch, catra. All right, there you go. All right,
And Bob has now insulted every French speaking person in our listener slash
I've done
viewership.
that every time we've had these multi parts. You know what?
I know.
This is
I
my
know.
shtick,
His shtick is
and
right.
yeah, and I can't help it. And it's not feigned. You notice I smile every time I do
Yeah,
this.
I know. I know.
It makes me happy.
So
So
allow me to reiterate Walter. Walter right now would save you so much time just asking the question as we continue to
actually,
have our
none of
back and
this.
forth.
Yeah, none
Yeah.
of this would
Yeah.
Walter would filter out all of this
Yeah.
crap.
We'd be like, that's junk. Throw it
That
out.
absolutely. Let's get to the meat of the answer to
Yes.
your question. First thing,
Yeah.
so you started your business, you hit the start button, and you advertised it. The website went live yesterday. Uh, so first thing I would say is make a big deal about it, right? So get the word out. I see folks that do a schmaltzy job. Man, I'm in shtick and schmaltzy, and I'm making words up today, Metacasters. But folks, they just sort of, I just formed my company. Uh, Come on and check it out. Here's the webs. It's almost like the Eeyore approach to making a big bang, and check the tail and call me if you need any help, call me. That's not what you want to do. You want to make a big deal about it.
Mhm.
You want to make a splash. And I don't do marketing, for goodness sakes. Like, I'm not a product guy. Josh is the product guy. So I mean, I'm telling you to do this, and it's like 10 times more important than what I'm even saying, but make a big splash. Get your colleagues, like send an email to your friends. Get your parents to, to chime in, and whatever. Get your community, get your supporters, get your coaches, get your local colleagues, your remote colleagues. Give them a heads up a few days in advance. Tell them you're going to make a big announcement. Get them to what do you call it? Like tag it or
Yeah.
pin it
That'll work.
or repost it, and really try to make the biggest splash you can.
Yes, and you have to keep doing that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I am guilty of doing that at the start, and it's, however many months later, and I'm not as effective at maintaining that marketing, which helps provide a continuous pipeline of customers, because that's a thing that you're going to have to always work on. So that first launch, you hope slash expect it's going to jumpstart the pipeline that either you have or you don't have, and that gets you your first customers. But many people don't create the time to continue to focus on that on a regular basis. I am guilty of this. This is something that I know I have to get better at, of just continuing that to happen. Otherwise, you're going to put all this work in, you're going to give everything you have, and there's not going to be anybody to hire you, because you haven't done a good enough job making it apparent that A, you're here, and B, these are the amazing things you can do for their company.
One of the cool things you can do is if you're switching from permanent employment to consulting, or even consulting gig to consulting gig, is talk to people that won't just recommend you, and Bob's a great guy, but they might even talk about like a project you've worked with or an accomplishment you've had, right? Uh, so they're talking about, even if you're leaving a job, reach out to people that you've worked with historically, and say, "Hey, can you give me like a quick referral on LinkedIn?" So don't just say, "Good luck, Bob," but "Bob rocks. This is what Bob did for our company. Here's some outcomes that he had. He brought to the table." So I don't know if that stuff emerges on its own. It's nice if people think about that. It's fair game for you to reach out to folks, give them a script almost, and say, "Hey, can you help me with
Yeah.
this? Can you talk about this?"
And because you did your homework based on what we suggested in previous chapters of this, you already mined your past for those wins and successes. Again, like so many of what you're going to hear throughout chapter 4 is going to be, continuing to recycle the content that you have and the messaging that you have on a regular basis. Last time I checked, uh, you have probably seen an ad for Ford trucks every day for your entire life. And you will probably see a commercial for Ford trucks every day for the rest of your life. They are very effective at making sure you know that A, they're there, and B, that you should give them a shot.
I mean, who buys what does that have to do with the Metacast, Josh? Who buys a Ford truck? I
Uh,
mean,
I,
what
I
kind of
did.
a oh, yay, go Ford. Go go Ford. I knew that. I knew that.
I know. I
So
know
so
you knew
that's
that.
so that's the thing that you hit that. Um And this isn't linear. I'm just sort of trying to think of some things, this is that kickoff but an immediate thing right after hitting the button is sales calls. So getting on a Zoom or literally a phone or a payphone, uh, and I know I'm dating myself. Those things don't exist. A rotary phone. I know. Is there anyone who would be listening? But getting on the phone, getting on a Zoom, and having your pitch ready, being able to pitch yourself. So there's two ways to this converse to me. This is the initial someone rings you up, you have their attention, you have a referral, someone referred you to someone, it's a prospective client, you're trying to get to know them, and so you're listening, so you need to hone your listening skills and your note keeping skills, or have a good app that records things for you or something. And then you want to be communicating your value and your ability to solve their problems as you're mining their challenges. You want to be having stories and things to tell. And I don't, some people are very natural at that. Josh, you're pretty, you've always struck me as being able to do that kind of stuff pretty well out of the box, but some people are not wired that way at all. But you need to get wired to do that. Um, and you need to practice or something, practice in a mirror or whatnot. If you're really nervous, then get yourself a checklist, or and like a note sheet or something, electronic or physical, so that you could remind yourself to listen. Remind yourself, when you're talking about yourself, what is the top 5 points you want to make about, what are the differentiators for you in your practice, etc. Josh, play off of that. What do
Yeah,
you?
you are going to get asked point blank, how would you do this? What's your view on this challenge? What do you think we should do here? And you'll find that you get pretty much the same questions, but you need to have a solid answer that's just like boom, right on the tip of your tongue, ready to rock and roll, and sell that confidence. Sell that, hey, I've done this before. I know this works. Here's why, here's how, here's examples. But if you're not confident, you're not going to get the deal. So you have to have that messaging strong in how you deliver it, not only the content, but like how you say the words. And so that people feel it, they feel that excitement, that emotion that you have based on you like, yeah, this person gets really excited about this. It's crazy. I didn't think anybody did, but that's what we need.
I'd say excitement. You also need to exude some gravitas,
Hmm.
some confidence, some hubris. Not too much, but you need to. These folks are going to be potentially spending. We talked about pricing models and things before, so they're going to be spending a lot of money potentially on you, and you need to bring it to the table. So the attitude that Josh is talking about is paramount. I think, like the presence you have is paramount, and work on that.
Yeah, that's
I'd
not
also
a just
go ahead.
that's not a natural thing. Even me, I'm a very confident. I've been labeled cocky and all kinds of other things, but still being able to talk about oneself with confidence without coming across like a jerk uh, is a skill that you have to develop and practice. Otherwise, it's going to fall flat, or people are going to be like, "I don't freaking believe, like, I don't believe you at all." Because there's ways you can say things where, like, yes, you're saying words, but nobody actually buys it.
Yep. I'm going to say there's two other things during this call to think about. Is one, and they're going to be contrary. One is don't be afraid to say no. I don't do that.
Hmm.
Right. So if it's something that in your heart, this is not in my wheelhouse. Now is not the time to BS them. Right. So talk about, I can't do that. What can you do and what can't you do? And if you have to say no. Now, one of my defaults in that area is I am almost immediately go to talking about partners. But I can't do that, but I know Josh Anderson,
Hmm.
and Josh can do stuff like that. So I can create a complementary view. The contrary point of it is don't be so strict about what you can and can't do, uh, that you say no to prematurely. So keep in mind, like the number one mantra of consulting is you don't have to know everything. You just have to be able to figure it out and before your client needs it. And you need to have the wherewithal to do that and to learn quickly. So I can't tell you probably every gig that I've ever taken, every coaching gig, uh, it wasn't a slam dunk for me. I didn't, there was some percentage of what the expectations that I had to figure out. It might have been using a tool or facilitating a different kind of meeting or a meeting with a different group or whatever it was, or product. Very often, like value stream mapping and things like that. It's not something I do all the time. So, I can commit to it, but I have to go sharpen those skills.
Mhm.
Well, I'm not going to have that conversation with a client. Oh, I did it 22 years ago. Maybe I can help you. No, no. Yeah, I can do value stream map. In the back of my mind, I know that I have to refine that. I have to sharpen those skills. I may even want to again go back to a complementary partner. So don't get stuck on I can only do what I'm incredibly comfortable doing. Uh, get comfortable with with discomfort.
Yep, agreed. That's if you narrow it down to exactly what you've done, your total addressable market,
Oh,
as we say in the VC and PE world, is very, very small. Your total addressable market is
yeah.
like 5 people.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, so you've got to be able to bring your skills to learn, adapt, adjust, and deliver value to the table, knowing that hey, this is a little bit off, but I can make that work.
So right after the conversation,
Hmm.
uh, and take us in another direction, Josh. So let's say that the conversation goes really well, and you get an email. God, Bob Galen, you're the man, right? Your intellect is startling. It's it's pristine. Our confidence in you is through the roof. How much is it going to cost? And can you get us a quote?
Yeah.
Uh, and I don't want to say, I don't want to say, well, wait for 2 weeks while I put together a template and and figure out what you need to have, like a contract, a response form. Uh, probably if you're doing if you're taking deposits, you probably want to have like a way of invoicing. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but you need some response stuff.
Yeah.
If you haven't told them your pricing, you need a pricing sheet. Then you need a contract, some kind of statement of work or something, etc., that you can very quickly fill in for them. Josh, go ahead.
Before I agree on having all of that ready because I remember the first time I did that and I was caught off guard. I'm like, Bob, do you have a contract I can copy? You know? So started with that, and over time I've evolved. But I actually create a brief summary of what I would do, how I would tackle it, along with the pricing in an email because
Oh
that's
yeah, yeah.
easier to go back and forth besides like jumping to the contract because then there's like so many things and legal gets involved. Let's get to a handshake agreement on what this is going to look like, and then once we're both comfortable with timing, pricing,
Yep.
blah blah blah, then we'll go through the rigor of creating the contract and getting it signed and reviewed and all that jazz. But don't start there because otherwise you're just creating a bunch of overhead for yourself that you might find that you're wasting your time on. So as quickly and as lightly as you can, lightly, I meaning with amount of back and forth, get to a handshake agreement on like, yes, we can start about this date. Yes, we're willing to pay you this much. And let's go make it happen. Because then, even better, at that point, there's urgency on their end to get everything signed and ready to rock and roll. So that's a good tool that you can use to make sure that you get all of the ink in all the right places.
I agree with you, Josh. I mean, I always send an email, so I'm not wasting. The other thing is, it's not just wasting time; it's getting clarity. This is what I heard. This would be
Yeah,
my response. This might be. This is the relative cost. What do you think? Give me your feedback,
yeah,
and iterate on that. One final thing, Metacasters, is you never. What I'm really trying to say is, you never want to be the delay factor.
yeah.
I wanna turn trust me, the clients will be the delay factor. Their legal departments will be the delay factor. Their inability to sign, taking 2 weeks to sign something is, so you don't wanna be, a 2-week delay and then, have an aggregate 2-week delay, 2-week delay. So I always try to really turn things around.
Yep.
If I had a sales call today on Friday, I would say I'll have it to you Monday. I'm probably going to have it in their hands by Saturday. And again, I'm not. It's not the Saturday. It's the quick turnaround on things. So you're not the delay.
Yes.
What else,
Agreed.
Josh? Let's go down the road a little bit from
So I actually
from.
there's something there. You put your price out there, you say this is how much it's going to cost, and then like
Mm.
sticker shock happens and heads explode and they're like, "Wait a minute, we never thought it was going to cost that much and we can't do that. What are we going to do? Like how do you bring the price down?" You will get everything from, "Hey, the board is really tight on us now and our spend and blah blah blah, so like we got to keep this under X dollars." That's an uncomfortable position, especially when you're early in your career and your pipeline is pretty empty. You might not have any room. You might just have to like take what you can get. But as you go and grow, you need to be able to stand firm and be confident with your pricing sheet and say like, "Sorry, this is the price. Uh, take it or leave it." Now, it takes a while to get to that spot, but you need to be able to get to that spot where at least that's where I aspire to go. To where I don't like negotiation. I don't like playing the game of, "Oh, I have to give you a higher quote than I would expect so that way you can negotiate it down and feel better about yourself." I always try and present it as like, "This is the price."
I'm going to slightly disagree. Um, Not because I'm cheap and I undervalue myself, which I do sometimes. But I think if you're just starting, you want to be careful about saying no, right? You need to feed the family. So maybe that first one, yes, be firm, have a pricing sheet, but you may have to be aggressive and don't feel bad. Don't kick yourself or
Right.
feel bad about, right? Maybe the first one or two. You don't want to do that you don't want to do that for very long. The other thing that I slightly disagree, or when it's a yes and actually, it's not a disagreement. It's you have to look at the opportunity. So if I'm quoting a class and I know that there's 10 follow-on classes or there's a follow-on opportunity, I'm more likely to negotiate a little bit knowing that there's follow-on activity.
Yeah.
Right, right. If there's no follow-on or if I have no vision to the follow-on activity, so I don't but I know I do. I look at duration, right? I look at the overall opportunity, the overall monetary opportunity and just see, and I might be more flexible, right? I don't wanna get so, sort of hunkered down that I appear to be intransient, particularly for a large and I think clients who have larger opportunities are gonna want a little bit of flex on the part of their partners as well. But in general, I support what Josh is saying. Negotiation is not it particularly if you're in a boutique. So if you're in a commoditized market, then I think you have to sort of go there a little bit. If you're in a boutique, and I think our audience, we're talking about mostly boutique. Josh, you're a boutique consultant. I'm a boutique consultant specialized. Then I think it's like, no, you're paying a premium for me,
Yeah.
right? And I don't think you negotiate very often at all. It makes me feel cheap. I used to do it occasionally, and it just made me feel bad, which
Mhm.
affected my performance in the role. I know that sounds odd, everyone, but it just cheapened. I just didn't feel good about. Just like when I hire someone, I want them to feel excited to join and to be really jazzed up. I think as a consultant, you want to be excited. Yes, you're getting paid a lot of money, but you want to be excited about it. You want to feel like you're valued.
Agreed. Agreed. And that's can be uncomfortable. So those are difficult things. I know there's lots of books and videos on negotiation. I just do everything I can not to.
But you're Josh freaking Anderson.
I am. Boutique,
Exactly.
Josh.
Boutique. You like that.
Boutique.
You
I've never
yeah.
had anybody use that word to describe me in any manner ever in
And
my
you are
life.
but no, but you are boutique. You have a vertical area of expertise that's not a lot of folks can fill.
I'm going to raise my prices.
Yes, you are. Yeah, yes, you are. You probably have like a weekly reminder, raise prices. Yes, I
I
know.
I think about it. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
I
sure you.
do. Okay, so you've worked through the process, you've emailed, you've got the contract that's signed. The next thing that's going to hit you and probably catch you off guard is invoices. You have to create them and send them and track them and get the bank information to the customer and make sure that's all working well and everything that goes into that invoicing thing would caught me off guard, and I scrambled a little bit to figure it out, but luckily I stumbled into a pretty good tool that helps me. And you know, that's another thing that you have to do, that I generally send them out on Fridays, but there's times where it's Monday and I go, "Oh crap, I didn't send out invoices when I should have." And so now I've just delayed payment for me. So I've like, because of that, I'm getting paid later than I normally would. And while it's not going to upset the apple cart, it could upset the apple cart when you're starting. A few months ago, when I restarted this whole practice, it was very, very important for me when the money was coming in.
Absolutely.
So that was a big challenge, and I had to stay on it and get on my horse and make sure I did it consistently.
So Medicaster's terms become, 30 days, net, whatever the net terms are. Most companies want high, just like they'll negotiate. But you may want to not negotiate, but it's usually, I found it hard to change their net terms at
Mhm.
companies. They are what they are. So you're probably going to have to eat whatever. I usually, mine are net 30, but I see companies that do net 45, net 60. I have a couple of clients who try and succeed at net 90. That's about as long as it goes. It's a cash flow challenge for you. This goes back to maintaining your buffer. We talked about having some kind of financial buffer, um, for the resiliency of your practice, right? For those highs and lows, but cash flow, from a cash flow point of view as well. To Josh's point.
Yeah, one other thing that caught me off guard that I didn't know, and especially right at the beginning when that money landed on my bank account was very important, was when they do payables. So, okay, sure, it's 30 days from now, but like they might not do payables every week. So I invoice every week. And I was expecting to get paid every week, but they're like, we only do payables like once every 2 weeks. So we're going to bundle these things together and pay you this
Right.
much. So understanding that is going to be important, just so you get in the comfort place of their flow of how they handle that.
Josh, have you ever had like, the term used to be dunning, which is things are late and you have to, you're not getting paid on time. Did do you have you? I haven't ever really had a problem. I don't think I've ever
No.
like I probably over 10, 15 years, I probably had to send a where's my check email. One time, maybe like 5 times, no more than 10.
Yeah.
And then it was just like an oversight or we didn't understand terms. But I didn't have to hound people down. But I hear war stories from other consultants that they're hounding folks down and they're not getting payment. You haven't had that?
Nope. I have not.
I think the boutiques, I think it's relative, all joking aside, I think boutiques, when you're, one of the advantages of being a specialty consultant is, one, you don't have to negotiate, but people don't jerk around with you so much. They take you a bit more seriously on payments. I think that might be it. Whereas if it's a commodity consulting firm, you probably have to deal with that. Zenergy, for example, I know struggles with that. They've had clients that have, delayed for years actually, that have been, and I've never encountered anything like that.
Yeah, I've encountered quite the opposite, where the person who signed me on board or brought me in, who's basically the sponsor of me being there, checking in and saying like, "Hey, everything's square. Like you're getting paid, right?" So I've
Exactly.
had that more often than not. And then even those that didn't tackle it like that, there was never really an issue besides an understanding that I had that was wrong based on the things we talked about when they do payables, what the terms are, blah blah blah.
Yep. Another topic, Josh. What do you got? What do you think? How about
Um,
retros, pivoting? I'm teeing that up. This notion of here was my game plan, but 2 months in, how are we doing? Do I need to make any pivots, retros, stuff like that? Do you anything around that?
yeah, I went into things in my current iteration of Kazi with an expectation of the services that I offered. And then after a couple of customers, I realized, and this is really big for me in the product realm, of what's my unique right to win. So whenever I'm thinking about a product for a company or human or whatever, it's like what makes this product special that no one else can do?
Yeah.
What is that thing? So that's where I guess boutique Josh came from. As I started looking around, like, okay, I can do this. Lots of people are doing this, but like, what's the one thing that I can hang my hat on and say, you're going to have a hard time finding other people that can do this as well as I can, and being able to really hone in on that. And it took time for me to figure that out because I launched in doing a bunch of different things, and then I really realized, like, okay, this is that superpower that I have. So let's lean into that. But I didn't have that right out of the gate. I didn't know that that was the answer. I had to, with every customer that I talked to, forget that I worked with, that I talked to, I had to figure out who I wanted to be and what that focus area for Josh was.
The things I would focus on too, sometimes when you think about like a checkpoint, is you're just thinking about revenue and run rates and things like that. So I that's valid. So I would look at cash flow. I would look at my run rates, my revenue generation. I would also look at my pipeline for new client activity. So and if it's empty, I would pivot and say I need to spend some time, even though I'm greedy and I'm getting paid for 80 hours a week. I may need to get paid for 60 hours a week and do some pipeline sales management. So I would be looking at your sales pipeline. I would probably look at that. It depends on things, but on a monthly basis, what is my revenue generation? What is my sales pipeline? I would also say what's driving both of those is your strategy. Like Josh, I remember when you pivoted to like a fractional leader, like a
Mhm,
fractional CTO. I don't you've not been that for 10 years. So you somewhere along the line recently in the last
mhm.
couple years you've done this fractional thing, and that's sort of adding a service, right? Reading the market, uh adding identifying a personal capability. Hey, I can this is there's a market for this and I can do that, and then sort of pivoting into that. So that would be part of that quarterly, monthly sort of heartbeat, quarterly reassessment. And then part of the reflection or the retrospective is what do you have to change? Do you have to change anything? And pipeline marketing, I didn't mention marketing for goodness sakes, right? So it's the branding. You said this very early on, Josh. It's not a one-time thing. And so how well am I setting my brand? And you may want to reinvest. So for example, if you know a contract is ending in December, you, you may want to, and you've sucked at you've sucked at branding. You may want to ramp up the branding a little bit, and don't wait for December 15th to send out a lame old email. It says, "Hi, I'm Bob. I'm off my contract." I mean, you can do that,
That's very real for me right now.
right? Right? Is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Again, like and I mentioned this, like I have not been good enough at continually shaping the pipeline that I have. I think what's happened is I've gotten lucky, so that's allowed me to be complacent. But I am at the point now where it is irresponsible of me to bank on luck. But I shouldn't have done it in the past, but I've gotten lucky. So I've got to make sure that luck is nice, but not required.
Yep. I do think this boutique thing um, allows. I mean, that's part of the luck, Josh. is you are not commoditized. You have areas of specialty. So therefore, and you have brand awareness. And so I've gotten lazy in that over the years, in what we're talking about. So Metacasters, I'm really saying you hit the button for the first 5 years, for the first 5 months, for the first year. You want to be doing some of the things we're talking about. Over time, you may find that, oh, I've created enough brand awareness. I have enough referrals going on. You don't have to worry about it. But don't let your ego get the best of you in the beginning. You really need to be thinking about this stuff, this multifaceted business planning. And I know it sounds boring. It's beneath you. It's strategy and planning. You want to be getting I want to be coaching. I want to be training. And that's where the juice is. I get it. But do the other stuff as well.
Yeah. Yes. That is where I'm
Anything
working to get
I
better at.
and I didn't mean to expose you to the universe,
No,
Josh.
I've got no issue with that. It's just that's a thing that, it's I've got to practice what I preach, and
Yep,
I haven't been as good as I should have been in the not too recent past. But I'm fixing that. It's like anything. You stumble and you pick yourself
yep,
up and dust yourself off and say, how do I not let that happen again?
exactly. I have one more thing that comes to mind.
Yeah.
I don't have a list, and if I'm missing anything or if I'm cutting you off, Josh, you cut me right back. All right. Yeah, you have my permission. But I would say so all of this stuff that we're talking about, and this is hard because there's not enough time and there's a lot of stuff to do. And there's a lot of juice to be to be made. You need the juice flowing as well. But self-care. Make sure you're not
Oh,
burning yourself out. And to me, that would be part of these checkpoints. Am I and my tendency for years was I had a day job and I had these evening jobs and I would overcommit. I mean, Josh, you probably know, not that I told you,
yeah.
but Josh, I've delivered workshops for Josh over the years. And so Josh would approach me, and because he's my friend, I mean, I could never say no to him. And he says, "Oh, I need this class now." Well, I know
I
I would
know.
have
I
a
know.
hard
I know.
time.
Yeah.
And he's like, "And can you do it next week?" And I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, I can do it next week." And I've already got a full freaking week, and I've got to juggle, and then I don't see my children. They forget my net. They don't even know if I'm their father anymore. My kids are alienated, and I'm overworking. So it's really easy to lose your self care as a
Yeah.
consultant, as an independent. Trust me, it's just easy. And it's not always 100% wrong, right? Revenue is good. You have to generate your buffer, etc. But don't lose yourself because I think somehow balancing yourself so you recharge your batteries is going to make your business better. It's going to make your deliveries better. Burning yourself, will your clients will see the fact that you're not performing as well as you could if you're burnt out. And you don't want that.
Yep.
Josh, any reactions?
I agree 100%. Again, that's a thing that I'm working on getting better at. And one of the hardest things for me, and maybe for some other people, is what are the things that really recharge me? So when I was in an office with a team, whenever I got to that icky point where like I didn't feel like I was in a million meetings,
Yep.
executive, whatever stuff that was going on, I would just go sit in a meeting of one of my squads that was working on a complex problem. And I would just sit there and just like ignore me. I just want to listen. This is my happy place. So that's what I would do. But I don't have that anymore. So I've had to discover new things that recharge my batteries actively because it's a different world. So what you may have used to recharge when you were a part of a
Yep.
company, it may not work now. So
Exactly.
there's a high likelihood that you're going to have to try and discover what those are.
I'm simple Metacasters is buying some and handing them to your dog River, uh, which give you great joy.
Yeah.
Or is it tracheas or esophagus or something?
Uh,
Body parts. Uh,
yes.
beef.
Various beef leftovers. Yes.
So
All right, we
But
did it, right?
I think we did it. I think
Okay.
we can we nail it? Stick a fork
Yeah.
in it?
Yes.
Did
Yeah.
I did my voice just go up like 3 octaves?
It did.
Yes,
It
it
did.
did.
Yeah.
So from beautiful downtown Cary, North Carolina,
And equally beautiful Fuquay Arena, North Carolina.
I'm Bob. Oh no, I am Robert Q. Galen,
And I am Josh Anderson. Just Josh.
and we have just stuck a fork in part
Oh, no. Uh,
shake.
and bake.
Take care, y'all.